now we are taking a closer look at the planners. Planning means we are now jumping to the close. Let it open. We are now jumping to our web-based planning module. We have it also as well in a native version, but I will present it in the Opera version. Yeah, so or Chrome, whatever. So on the other hand, we have, let's start with this first because the other one is still loading. We have the possibility to add a web shop to our system. Web shop means you can log into the web shop. So for example, I can't remember the wording, just a moment. So as you can see, also the menu is changing. And for example, if I let's change the language to English, we can add, for example, business cards, and we can also work with templates in the background. So for example, this version, and if I'm going into the details, you can see, okay, this is the paper, the delivery date, the print runs. If I want to change the print runs to 250, also the price is recalculated, and then the customer, especially in closed shops, can add informations to the designer, and we get a preview out of it, and this preview we can order within our system. So in this case, also the way how to produce it is stored with the product, and we get the information in combination. Yeah, so it's a very simple web shop, nothing else. So yeah. So okay, let's start with the planning. The planner is also able to check in with a simple with his username and password, and now we are jumping in directly into the whole list, but you can change that anyhow. So the starting screen is up to the customer. What does he want to see? Sorry. But here normally you find all the project which we added in the system, and now we can also jump into the planning in. So planning means everything what is released for production will be showed here. So labels and brochures and so on, or calendars, flyers, and the planner can start working if he says, okay, I want to plan it in. This is the product, or he can make it able so he can see a small description. He can insert the planning cards so he can see what happens or what are the next steps. Yeah, it's still working. He can see the product information, he can see the final sizes and so on. And as you can see here, he needs the indigo, he needs the die cut, because there are 4 different parts, and he can say, okay, plan it in. So as I said before, plan it in the first possible date. So if the machine is empty, plan it in. He can plan it in on a fixed date, maybe print it next week. Yeah, so he can define the print date here. So we can print it next week at 12th, or he can choose also the last possible date. So for example, as I said before, we need for production, the production time is 2 days, and now we start on next Wednesday because the delivery date is on Friday, for example. I take now the first possible, and then he can say plan it in. And that's everything he has to do at the moment. So now we plan in all 6 cards, and as you can see, it's now done. There's also a warning, so he can see the delivery date is surpassed, yeah, on the following machines. So that maybe becomes a challenge, yeah. But now he can jump also to the planning board, and that's the view we can provide for everybody in the company. So everybody can see this screen, and it's not necessary to have a central point where everybody has to go to see where's my order. Can we move it to another date or something like that? So everybody on his working place can see it because it's web-based. And now we have all the information, as you can see here. This is this week, so we started on Monday. The blue line, as you can see, is right now. And we have here dark gray and light gray areas. The dark gray area means non-capacities, like some Saturday or Sunday, or night shifts which are not used. And the light gray, so as you can see here, today we work from 8 to 4 on this specific machine. And this is the order we already placed in. So as you can see, we start working right now because I said go into the machine as soon as possible. And here downstairs you can see the special information about it. So the end format is 110 to 50. We need this machine, we need this printing material, and we start at 11:26, and hopefully we are finished at that time. This planning card is a little bit longer because it's going overnight, and the planner can decide, okay, we make it today, we finish it today, or we finish it tomorrow. And it is also possible to move it. So he can move it to Friday as well. As you can see here, you can see some arrows. And here is the first conflict. I can say, okay, let the program solve the problems or the conflicts in the background, so it's also possible. And you can see here a small k in the background, that means a conflict. So we can deliver this product on time, but we can maybe not deliver this product on time. So if I move it again to the right, as you can see, the arrow is coming from left to right because that's normal. I'm doing printing first, and then I go to the cutter. But if I move it, I get this conflict, as you can see. So the arrow is going to the wrong side, and now I get the information there's a conflict. Shall I solve it? And as you can see here, this planning card is now moving to the right if it's finished, because the program says it's not possible to do an activity which is normally done later on forehand. So as you can see, it also moved this card. What else? It's very easy. So if I want to move cards around, it's possible. And of course, all the information we get. So for example, this part, it's not ready at the moment, but I can say now, okay, the plates are exposed. I save it. And as you can see, hopefully the information will change as well. So we get another color, and everybody in the company sees right now it's green, for example. So orange is, what's the status? Yeah, the pre-press is ready. So this is the information. On every place we can do different things. So for example, I can create a placeholder because somebody said, okay, this afternoon there's coming an order on this place, so I can add on this specific cost center a placeholder, for example. So it's blocked. It's blocked for maintenance reasons or anything else. So that's possible. You can, of course, add information. We call it flags. So maybe the material is in the outer stock, or the material is in-house, or the material is missing, it's ordered. So we can add flags. I said the material is ordered. For example, I get a yellow point, so everybody can see that's the special thing with this order. Or we can also jump to the reports, for example, for the e-work order or something like that. We can split planning cards. We can join them again. We can make a pallet slip or something like that. We can also add, we can close gaps and optimize. So close gaps means, for example, here you can see a gap, yeah, and I can go here and say, okay, close the gaps only for this machine or all machines. So everything is rearranged back again. I can't do that for the history. I can do that only for the near future. And of course, I can optimize planning cards. For example, on a specific day, for example, the next days on this machine, I can optimize it. So we can optimize it in, I think, 3 different ways. We can optimize it for the performance type, for the article dimensions, or for the varnish and article dimension. That means that we can combine varnish products together. We can combine the same paper sizes together, and so on. That's also possible, also for different cost centers or for all cost centers within this time. So that's also possible within the planning board. And of course you can move, as you can see, if you want to take a closer look to a specific day, you can move this so you get more information, because as you know, orders are becoming smaller and smaller. So maybe you need a bigger overview about these special days and orders.
What do you see here? It's one project. It's one project or one component.
Yeah, it depends. So normally, as you can see, there was a project that the thing we planned in at where is it? On the Happy Indigo. This was this. Give me a second. Let's say it's a product part. So if it's a bigger project, like the labels, these labels was there were 4 product parts or 4 plates we needed to reserve. So you can see here. If I click on one of them, I can see, okay, it's these 4 product parts combined. Yeah. So we are not only talking about the whole project. Yeah, we are talking about the whole project. But on this machine, I can see the different product parts, because that's important. For example, if I take a book, the book are different signature, and I can see every different signature on the plan as well, because it's up to you to decide. Okay, maybe I want to do this signature on another machine, so you have to have the right to move it to another machine. Huh? Very easy, very simple. Yeah.
How does it work when you've got a lot of components which are banging to the one sheet which is treated, for example, the GLF from Heidelberg?
Yeah.
Then how is it recognizable here? that the concrete job is printed on a sheet which I suppose has got a different number in the system.
Yeah.
How is it possible to recognize where is it? What
Yeah, you can. There's a search field, so you can search for everything. Yeah. So if you know the project number, you can search for it. If you know only the customer, and so on, is it with Manish? Yes or not, or is it a fixed production? So you can see this in the list. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the list is loaded. You can also download this as a PDF or as an Excel file. So it's up to you, or up to the customer to find everything. Yeah. So, for example, there's a Stadt Wien, so you can search for the customer. Yeah, if you want, but you can search for everything. Yeah.
I hope I do understand it. Because what I see here is one component of the job. For example, if it is a book, you've got a component to print a cover. There is a component to print the inside of the book, and then there is this which is used for printing for gluing the cover, the hard cover with the in component. So you see it here on the list as a specific component, or you see it as a whole job, which is
yeah, you can see both. So if I make a selection on a specific book, for example, I see only the planning cards of the book. Yeah, but here, for example, let's have it. Let's search for a specific thing. Give me just a second. For example, this folder. Yeah, no, that's empty. This catalog. It's also. I'm searching for a. Don't have one. It's only printing. What did I? Okay. So you can switch off the workflow as well. Let's take one of it. So if I found it, yeah, you can see what is the next activity or what is the activity before with this project workflow. Yeah, so it's very easy to follow the project, yeah, as well. So the customer can find it, and of course on this planning board there's a small description, so it's also up to the customer what he wants to see here, so we can define it, and as you can see, okay, I printed on the 705 and the next step is here on cutting, yeah, and cutting is on Friday. So I think it's very easy to find the necessary information for the customer.
Is it possible to send this information when what is the stage of the realization of the printing and the finishing and so on to the web service? For example, if the customers log into the account, he sees that the status of the job is that now we are printing, and now we are foiling, and now we are doing something else. Do you have such a...
I understand your question. We don't have it in the standard version. So in this case, we need an interface to send out the information. But it's if I do it once a day, it's not the biggest problem to get a status, for example, at the evening time, and I see, okay, it's ready on, or what is the last status of my work step? Yeah, we can send it out. Yeah, but as I said before, it's not the standard version. Because if I'm talking about online printers, yeah, as you know, Chroma, yeah, they send it out on the same day. So in this case, it's not necessary. The order is coming in, is produced on the same day, and it's going out to the customer as well on the same day, or maybe on the next day. So, or if I take the example flyer alarm, they also don't do it because the customer is deciding, okay, I want an express delivery, for example, within the next 42 hours, 48 hours, or the standard version within the next 5 days, and nobody cares about it then on customer side in the background, because the delivery time is normally fixed. So, but if you need it, yeah, it's the question of an interface.
How you recognize that there is a danger in realizing the jobs which are currently in production?
Yes, you can see here there's a small K on each planning card, and that means there's a conflict. Conflict means there's a conflict with the next activity, with the next step, or maybe there's a conflict with the delivery time. Yeah, and if I click it on it, and where is it? Normally I can see it directly if I'm moving over. So you can, yeah, that's the conflict. It's here. It's the delivery date. Yeah, because you're not able to finish it in right on time. So every information about the conflict is also stored in the background. So, but you also have it here, the conflicts, as you can see. And in this case, the conflict is, let's see, with the previous working step, yeah, because the KBA is on the wrong place. So you can see what's the problem with the former steps or with the next steps.
But in regular version, when you are working as a printing company, not making the presentation, is it possible that you get such a conflict during the planning, that the software will put the, for example, cutting on the guillotine before the printing, or it is impossible?
The planning in is impossible to do so. So in this demo version, we move all the cards all the time, so we are on the actual date, but normally it's not possible. So if I plan it in, we know exactly what's the next working step, because that's predefined here in the project. So if I'm going back to which project ever, for example, this catalog, I know the activities and the working steps in the background. So I know I need the plates, for example. Yeah. If I don't have the plates, I cannot go into the printing machine, and so on. So the steps are predefined. As you can see here, give me a second. Come on. Okay, let's go back in the meantime. So and if I plan it in, every step is normally, so printing is the first step and cutting is the next step. So we are always going to the right direction. And if I move one of the planning cards, for example, to another place, the program is doing two things at that moment, because I moved it in between. So I say put it between the cards. And the second thing is that he's moving all the activities which are on the wrong place to the right side. So in this case, there's the KBA, and maybe that was the cutting in the background. And that will be also moved to the right position. And of course, not to a position where it's booked. It's going to an empty space then. So that's, of course, part of the program. So that's moving, and let's take another. So as you can see here, this is the working order for this special product. Yeah, and I have to do the pre-press first, then I got the plates, then I'm going to the machine, and then I'm going to the folding, and maybe then I'm going to the delivery or to the finishing. That's the steps where we are walking through, and that's the same steps here in the planning board. Yeah, so everything is, it's impossible to do it. Yeah, you can do it, of course, if you move it manually. And if you are not trusting the system, of course, everything is possible, yeah, but normally not.
When you make the optimization, I've seen one day the presentation of EFI product, and there was something like that the software generated data that you cannot accomplish, for example, 100 jobs in time because you have got not enough space on guillotine.
Yeah.
And do you have something like that that you show the customer, because there's a lot of gaps which are dark gray, and for the print house it is possible to fulfill that, taking other people or making an extra shift.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have something like that?
Yeah, of course. That's a question of information. So that's the planning configuration. So as you can see here, you can add holidays in front. So if I want to have a holiday on a specific date, you can add it so it's going dark gray. Or the other thing is, that's the, I think that's the that's the customer. Give me just a minute. Status. Somewhere there you can define. Yeah, you can define. Of course. Where is it? Give me just a second. I'm searching. You can define the border colors. Service catalog, main plan colors. Yeah, there's a part where you can say, or the, it's, I have it not in my list because that's the wrong user I used. So not everybody is allowed to do the planning configuration. But normally, if you decide, okay, we need a third shift, for example, on Friday, yeah, so we have to work through from today to tomorrow. You can change it, of course, yeah. That's an easy thing to change it. So if I want to work on Saturday, yeah, because normally Saturday we are not working, you can change it.
But does your software report that there is a lack of time on the finishing machine, for example, or guillotine?
Yeah, you can see if you plan in 100 orders, for example, yeah, and you see, okay, my last order is we can make it in 2 days, yeah. So you have to decide, okay, do I want to work with this 8 hours, for example, or do I want to work without these 8 hours, or do I have to change the Sunday, yeah, into a working area? That's also possible. So as you can see here with the KBA, I'm working to Saturday night. So you can change it on every day to make it happen that your working area fits to your needs.
But does it belong? The decision belongs to the customer, the people who are watching into this plan, or does the software make such a?
No, the software doesn't make the suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, it's up to the planning guy, or it's a decision of the company are we working during the night with the third shift, or are we not working with the third shift? Yeah, that's not part of the decision of the system. The system will show you, as you can see here, I have a lot of conflicts. Maybe it's the conflict with the delivery time. And at that moment, the planner has to decide, okay, I have to open this night shift, yeah, to make it happen that we don't have delivery problems. But that's part of the planning process.
Yeah, I do understand, but it's very easy if you have got so small amount of jobs as you have got here. But when you get 1,500 jobs per day,
yeah,
and this is and there is a selling department which gives you another 1,500 that came from the internet. The second part came from the guys who are just selling the direct sale, and then you've got here 3,000 jobs to be printed during this week or the next 2 weeks. Then it is not so easy, I realize, to get the proper definition. What do I really need? Because maybe there could be an estimation that if we make the KBA working for 2 days non-stop, we will get better results to achieve the better sending to the customer.
Yeah, of course. That's from my point of view, it's that's a really decision of the company and the planner, yeah, because it's not easy to get to fill a night shift, yeah, because you need the personal workers, you need the printers, you need the finisher during the night shift. So it's up to the customer to decide. He will see, as you can see here, yeah, the expectation was finishing today. Yeah, till, as you can see here, 10 o'clock. Yeah, so now the sales department sent in orders, and you can see we will finish tomorrow. So at that moment, the planner has to decide, okay, I will open the night shift. And if he opens the night shift as a working area, he can move all the planning cards. So to the left, or he can say, okay, close the gaps, so the system will do that automatically. But somebody has to decide, okay, we are working tonight. Yeah, so that's not the decision of the program. That's the decision of the planner. And if he does open the night shift, he can see he has to work, because that's the length of the production. Yeah. So at that moment he sees, okay, I will stop tomorrow at 7:45 with my last order. And it's not possible because we close at 1, for example. So I need 7 more hours. If I need 7 more hours, I have to open the night shift.
Okay, and then if the night shift is opened, then you make the calculations once again.
Not the calculation, because the calculation is done. We need, as you can see here, 3 hours for this order. Yeah, but the thing we can do is, if we open this area, I can say, okay, close the gaps, and then every card on this cost center moves to the left. And at that moment, he don't have to do it manually. So the program will close the gap, and he can close it. Yeah? So it's up to the customer to decide what happens.
Can you describe to me what does this color means? What is yellow? What is green?
It's up to it's up to the also to the customer. So if I say, give me a second, where is it? The plan colors, yeah. So no, that's you can also change the background, as you can see. So the capacity and the non-capacity and the selected card, you can also change. Where is it? Status, I think that's it. So you can see not ready is yellow, and maybe there's something with the customer that's pink. If the pre-press is ready, it's getting orange, yeah? And so on. So it's up to the customer to decide, okay, if I want to have a placeholder like this, I can edit it and I can say, okay, I need another color, or I want another color, I want this color, yeah. So I updated it, and now if I'm change it in the planning board, I get for a placeholder this color. So it's up to the customer to decide what means what. Yeah. So if I ended dark green it's ended, so you can change it anyhow.
I have a question regarding your database. You said that the database is something which where you allowed to read the data.
Yeah.
But you cannot allow to change the status of this data.
Yeah.
For example, when you you will use a switch to read the data to properly prepare a PDF file to production. You will check the width and height, and you will calculate the colors. Basically, based on the media on which you want to print, and everything will be clear. How are you possible to set that the status of the PDF file is, for example, that it is approved by the customer?
Okay, that's normally the really good programs out on the market, and I think you sell some of them. Yeah, that's not part of our product. Yeah, because we do the estimation and we the PDF workflow. Yeah, let's say this. The PDF workflow is not part of our program modules. They are really good. Programs out of the on the market.
No, I understand my meaning, because I do understand that there is your system is to hold all the data in one place and make the planning and so on. But on parallel, you will calculate the PDF in a flow using Colors PDF Toolbox, for example, to check the data and so on, and you will do that. But your system, when the file comes from the customer, it is not prepared for printing. Then you make the calculation, and you have a final PDF to be printed. And what is the possibility to set the status of the PDF file which was sent by the customer after the PDF flow? For example, you checking, you fixing, you sending to the customer the preview of that file, and then the customer approve that. How you inform your system that it is proved to be printed?
Yeah, in that case, we are working with different stati. So there's one stati, and the customer has to decide who's responsible for what. So, for example, if I'm sitting in the pre-press department, and I see, okay, that's a placeholder. Let's take this. This order is not ready because. Let's say in other words, we've done nothing with this order. But now the pre-press says, or whoever is responsible in the company, okay, I send it to the customer. So he will change it and he will save this status, and then everybody in the company can see, okay, this information is now at the customer, and he will decide. If the customer sends it back with an approval, somebody in the company is responsible for that to change the status again. So the information, or the customer says, that PDF is correct for printing. So I say, okay, the plates are exposed or something like that, and save it, and that's it. So everybody can see it, it's done, and the status in the background is also changed.
Yes, but what is happening when the process of this is automated? And there is no place for the employee from the GTP department, because he doesn't see whether it is calculated or not. Because we have made automations which makes the 90-95% of the jobs are calculated automatically, but GTP department gets only these files which are not by the automation system calculated, and they do care about that. And I do understand that for these 5%, the GTP department could make it, could make the change, but the rest should be changed automatically. So my question is how to inform your system that the PDF file, for example, is ready to be printed.
Yeah, in this case, we need another interface, because then we have to have the information out of the pre-press workflow. This PDF is here and it's correct or whatever. Then we can make the connection between these two parts. Yeah, but that's also again an interface.
But how is it done in a flyer alarm? Because I do believe that all the jobs in flyer alarm is calculated manually. So there is a web shop. Is it your web shop or there?
They have their own web shop, and we also get they have done the calculation long before. So we get the information. This order is coming in, and normally, if the order is coming in by flyer alarm, there's also the PDF is ready. Yeah, because they make. In that case, we are working with collected orders. So on one sheet, 25 to 61 business cards, for example, and we get the information into the system. At the planning board, normally everything is done. So I don't know if they. Of course, they can make a rechange of some planning cards because, for example, there's a leg on the plate, so they can't use it. They have to rearrange some prints, but they will see that on the planning board, and then they will rearrange the planning board. But normally, the status is changing all the time from the back end, but I don't think it's. I think it's a good question. I have to ask it. I don't know how this exactly works. I will give you an information per email.
Can you also explain me these status of these many jobs on one sheet? How is it solved in your system?
That depends on the customer. So we can normally we get one. So if we have a collecting order, yeah, we have one order which is produced, and from this there. How do I say it? As you saw before, the 8 different business cards. Yeah, each of these business cards has an order number. Out of this order number, we make one special production, and this production gets a product number, and this product number contains the 8 or 5 or 7 different orders. So we produce, for example, at the printing machine, we have one order, and if we cut it into pieces, we get 8 different business card orders again. At that moment where we have the collection, for example, on the printing machine, we divide the costs procentually to the amount on the print. So if I make 7 pieces for one customer and 2 pieces for another customer, we divide it to 7 to 2. And on the cutting machine, or if one part is going to varnish or to cellophane or whatever, we add this cost to the product. But in the plan, you see at that moment you see one card. But with the 8 production numbers or eight order numbers in the background.
Yeah, I don't understand. How it comes from the web? This is done by XML.
Yeah.
Then you open it, and you create one job here, and then it is divided to different to these 8 business cards, for example. Is it also seen here in a plan or not?
You can see it in the plan, but normally the planner does. So we divided the specific machines. Yeah. So here on the printing machine, you see, for example, one order, but at the cutting maybe or at the delivery, you see smaller amounts of pieces because it's divided into different work orders. Because, for example, one is going to varnish, one is going to the spot varnish, and the third card is going wherever. Yeah? So we divide it again into the 3 different cards because at that moment it's going to different type of production.
Okay, I do understand. What is the plan for today? What would you like to show us?
The last part is I want to show you the BDE. That's the job floor information. So in that case, we are simple through the process normally. So the PDE, it's the only part where we are talking about named users because we need the person behind who made it. And so we are searching for the person and we are searching for the machine in the background. And of course changing to English. And this is now a view of a printer, for example, at his specific machine. So he gets the information out of the plan. He has to do these job numbers. That's the brochure. So he selects the brochure. He says, no, it doesn't change. Okay, sorry. I make the preparation and I start booking. So these 3 steps are necessary to start the production run, for example. Yeah. So if he's finished with this step, he says, "Okay, I'm now selecting and I do the printing and book it." So as you can see here, this is the first booking without time because I started very early the next step. But normally he can see here this time, and this is growing and growing again. So this is a simple time booking for a printer or if, the guy who's on the folding machine or on the cutting bulletin, wherever he's working. So he can add activities or see his activities as well. He can also have an overview in his day sheet, so he can print it for himself or download it if he wants, or somebody who want to see what happens on that machine. All these bookings, and of course you can also do a material booking, is also stored post calculation back again. So if I want to see on a specific project what happened, for example, let's take this one. Hopefully there is something. He can also jump into the post and post calculation, and normally we provide a sheet of paper, so he gets the information within as a PDF. Yeah? So he sees all the information here, and if I'm now changing to the next job, and I said, so here, this is the form where we can see the budgeted and the actual comparison with the pre-calculation and the post-calculation, and of course you can see it also in detail. This empty line will be filled with the information out of the other system. So here you get the information. Okay, the setup needed not only 3 hours 38, it needed 4 hours, for example. But hopefully in that case, the information is added why that happened. So you can see it on print on different machines. You can have it also with the material. So you can see the paper, what is the expectation and what's the actual, and of course at the end you can see the result. Yeah? That's the information which is coming from this part. So I make the print is ready, book it, and now at that moment we write back the time into the system. Okay, we worked for 3 minutes at that specific brochure. That's it.